Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the annual Morris K. Udall Awards Dinner, and thank you all for coming this evening. I am Amy Comstock Rick, the CEO of PAN. This dinner is an extremely important event for PAN, and we greatly appreciate your being here and actually not being home, getting ready for the big debate. As far as I know, we pick our dinner date long before the Commission on Presidential Debates picks its debate dates. But since this same conflict occurred 4 years ago, I'm actually starting to get a little suspicious. I hope that all of you are aware that we have viewing screens and dessert available in the back after dinner so that you can stay here and watch the debate with us if you'd like to. Those who did that in 2008 when this happened actually had a great time watching together. First, I do want to thank the many people who have done so much to make this evening possible. I ask you to look at the complete list in your program book, but I especially acknowledge Teva Pharmaceuticals, UCB, Abbott, the George and Jody Allen Charitable Fund, Frank and Marcia Carlucci, the Feinstein Institute for Medical Research, North Shore Long Island Jewish Health System, Ron and Linda Galowich, Pfizer, Pharma, the Prescott Family Foundation, Bruce, Paula, and Deborah Robinson, and the Harold and Shirley Robinson Philanthropic Fund, and the Ian and Mimi Rowland Foundation. I also thank our many Udall Dinner Steering and Planning Committee members, along with our wonderful co-chairs, Diane and John Ream and Mort Kondracki. These two committees begin work at least 6 months before the dinner to make sure that this evening is a success. PAN relies on this dinner for almost 1/4 of our annual funding, and we would not achieve that without each of these wonderful committee members. Would all the Udall Dinner Steering and Planning Committee members please stand so that we can give you a round of applause. And also, I would like to give my personal thanks to all the PAN staff who work so hard throughout the year to do so much for the Parkinson's community and the advocacy community. Many people tell me, and I probably don't say it to them enough, that they cannot believe the amount of work and the quality of the work we do with 13 people. So I'd like to give thanks to all the staff, particularly for this evening to Jana Tripodi-Bizet and to Craig Evans. But could all the PAN staff please rise, although I think a lot of them are out there working. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing someone whose leadership and support is vital to the success of PAN, our board chairman, Ron Galowich.
Hello, everybody. As you might have guessed, I'm Ron Galowich, and I'm very happy to be here with you to share an evening that is culmination of a lot of hard work by a lot of people, and Amy, being the leader, deserves the most credit of all. Thank you for supporting PAN by being here. Your support means that PAN's advocates can continue to make their voices heard on each of the Parkinson's community policy priorities. We consider it a privilege to have the opportunity to share with our leaders in Congress and in the government why the issues of this disease are so important. We also know that without you, we could not be successful. It's been an exciting and productive year for PAN. The advocates have led the way in Washington and beyond to fight for strong federal funding, policy support for the Parkinson's community. On behalf of the national Parkinson's organizations, many of which are represented here tonight, we make sure that the Parkinson's community is heard in the halls of the Capitol and throughout the country. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge all of our state directors, assistant state directors, district delegates in the room. Would you all please stand? These are the grassroots volunteers who do the work, and they're unsung heroes, every one of them. Without these advocates from around the country, we couldn't do this important work. I'd like to extend my thanks to the PAN Board of Directors. They are a very dedicated group, and I'm grateful to be working with them. And I must tell you that having been involved with a number of boards in my business and my personal life, I have never been with a board that has been so congenial and has such great appreciation for each other and the work that we do. They have been marvelous to work with, and they are a major reason why we are able to perform the functions we do. Would the board members please stand? It's been a busy year for PAN, and I want to thank you for coming tonight and hope that we'll see you again next year.
Thank you, Ron, for those remarks and for all that you do for PAN. Your leadership is really has a significant impact and very much appreciated. At an annual event like this, I like to give positive news about all the successes that we've had during the past year to assure you that your contributions to PAN and to our community are well spent. And we've had many successes this year. To name just a few, we saw a success at NIH in the creation of a new translational research institute, something PAN has worked on and pushed for years. This past summer, we also saw the passage of Food and Drug Administration legislation that for the first time in history makes the FDA include patient input in its assessment of the burden of disease. And we believe we are close to achieving a huge success in the Medicare program with the removal of a barrier to accessing therapy services for people living with Parkinson's disease and other movement disorders. And in addition to continuing to work on these important issues, we've begun some very interesting work on promoting greater access to the highest quality medical care available for people with Parkinson's through the use of telemedicine. For a time when Washington, D.C. is gridlocked, these are examples where PAN, through our staff and strong national grassroots network, continues to be successful on advocating and important policy issues for people with Parkinson's. But the elephant in the room is the upcoming fiscal cliff, specifically sequestration, and the impact on biomedical research that it will have if we don't take action. As you all know, in the summer of 2011, the Budget Control Act created a super committee to develop a plan to reduce the deficit through a mix of spending cuts and revenue increases. If Congress did not enact the super committee recommendations or an alternative, which it did not, the law mandated a fallback of automatic, across-the-board cuts in all federal discretionary spending programs, which of course includes biomedical research. The automatic cuts kick in on January 2nd, 2013, a date that may have seemed far away a year or so ago, but is looming quite ominously today. Now, we all know that difficult decisions need to be made, and it is easy for us to argue that someone else's program, not ours, should be cut. But as a country, it is simply not good strategy to achieve deficit reduction on the backs of people with Parkinson's and other diseases. If sequestration occurs, the impact on NIH will be devastating. NIH will need to cut $2.5 billion, a number that is far larger than the budget for the entire Neurological Institute at NIH alone. And biomedical research is not like other programs. It cannot just be stopped and started again like a water faucet. When grants are cut, labs are shut down, staff are let go, clinical trials may be halted, and the medical mysteries that we had hoped we were one step closer to solving remain mysteries. Now, there is hope. Many actually think that sequestration will not happen. The cuts are simply too arbitrary and too drastic. But even if an alternative plan for deficit reduction can be agreed upon, cuts will be made somewhere. Policymakers need to hear the positive impact that biomedical research funds have had, and will have, not just on the health of those in our country and our future health, but on financial recovery in terms of jobs and local economies. I am pleased that the biomedical research community in D.C. is working hard to reach out to members of Congress and candidates with the strong message that health research needs to be protected from these drastic cuts. This issue is bigger than PAN and the Parkinson's community alone, but through its staff and grassroots, PAN is very much a leader in these efforts, and thanks to your support tonight, we can keep up that good work. Before I turn to the rest of our program, the other Parkinson's organizations that are with us tonight deserve our thanks. The fact that PAN represents the entire Parkinson's community, all the national organizations, researchers, and most importantly, people with Parkinson's and their families on all public policy issues affecting this disease is a big part of what makes us strong. It is not always easy for the various Parkinson's disease organizations to maintain our unified voice, but each of us knows that the community is better served by our working together. For that, I want to acknowledge the many organizations that work with PAN, including the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the National Parkinson Foundation, the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, the American Parkinson Disease Association, and the Parkinson Alliance, all of which are here tonight. Could those of you who represent those organizations here this evening please stand?